Hey, you're about to learn, probably in a more clear way than ever before, the science behind how stress and negative emotions can take a real toll on our physical health and actually promote the progression of almost all chronic health conditions. And this is a topic that goes so unnoticed, and even though there's a plethora of research to support this by 2022, it still isn't talked about nearly as much as it should be in the health field, in the wellness field, and in healthcare in general. And because of that, many people struggle to fully overcome their chronic health conditions. Now, I want to let you know up front that in this video, we're on Golden Health Method, but this video is actually from Golden Mind Method, which is my newest YouTube channel where I dive more deeply into emotional well-being and really how to release emotions and release the garbage from your mind so that you can get back to living life on your own terms, so that you can gain the freedom to make your own choices without this internal struggle inside of you, and also, as we'll learn in this video, help you overcome physical problems as well. So if you're interested in more of that, make sure you go to the description below, or I'll link it above here, and check out Golden Mind Method, my newest YouTube channel. So I'll see you there, but until then, enjoy this video. When most people think about things they could do for their health, diet comes to mind, with nutrition and exercise and probably good sleep. But what if releasing emotions was right up there with the rest of those? In fact, what if in some situations, releasing emotions was more important than diet, exercise, and sleep for health? Is that true? Well, we're going to find out in today's episode. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Sean Golden, and this is Golden Mind Method, where we show you how to clear out the garbage in your mind so that you can enjoy freedom and peace and really start to live life on your own terms. Now, in this video, we're going to be showing you really how important releasing emotions is for health, and in order to improve health or get over certain conditions that you might have. Now, a lot of people, when they first hear that, either just don't believe it right off the bat, or just don't really understand the importance of how significant it is to be able to release your emotions in order to regain that type of health, or it's really physical health, not just mental health. And why is that? How can releasing emotions or improving your thought patterns affect your physical health? I mean, don't you need to put different food in your body? Don't you need to exercise? Don't you have to do something physical in order to change your physical health? And the answer is conclusively no. I mean, it's 2020 now, and the amount of the vast array of research that is out now connecting mental health and chronic stress to physical problems, to health problems, especially to progression of chronic health conditions, such as cardiovascular disease and cancer and autoimmune conditions, is just rampant. That type of research more and more of it comes out every single month. I'll link some studies below if you want to take a look at them, but just know I'm just giving you a drop of an ocean of studies that I could cite. I mean, they are everywhere. So now let's talk about how this works. How can emotions or chronic stress really have that much of an impact in our health? Well, there's a really, really good book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it's not the only book that talks about this, but it's a good one for for the general public, just because it presents a lot of the science in a very easy to understand way, and it's pretty engaging. Now, the title of that book is pretty interesting. It's Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And the question came about because zebras, on a pretty routine basis, have to literally run for their lives away from predators such as lions and stuff like that. And yet, they don't suffer the same types of conditions that we as humans suffer from that is linked to chronic stress. For example, ulcers are routinely over and over linked to chronic stress. Now, some of you might say, No, it's actually H. pylori. It's actually bacteria that give you the ulcer. And the honest truth is that it's both. H. pylori is the mechanism of how the ulcer develops, but in a healthy person, H. pylori won't give them an ulcer. You see, the stomach lining is one of the quickest tissues that needs complete repair. You get a new stomach lining just about once every 7 days. And what that means is there's constant regeneration and repair happening in that tissue. And so all that stomach acid, the bacteria, everything's kind of chipping away at that stomach lining. And if that repair process is inhibited, if it can't repair properly, then you can lead to an ulcer where that damage just kind of grows and grows until it turns into a real ulcer. So even though the bacteria might be the actual mechanism of what's creating part of that damage, along with the stomach acid and stuff like that, it's the inhibition of repair, the fact that the stomach lining isn't being repaired properly, that actually leads to that ulcer. And that's what chronic stress does. It leads to an inhibition of repair. It blocks repair processes. And it does that. One mechanism that it does it through, a pretty powerful one, is just through the stress hormones, like cortisol. Cortisol is our chronic stress hormone. And cortisol is essentially an anti-repair hormone. It's one of the best ways to think about it. In a lot of ways, cortisone does block inflammation. That's why we use cortisone injections in shoulders and knees and stuff like that to reduce inflammation. However, it doesn't just block inflammation. Inflammation is part of the repair process. There's an inflammation healing cycle. So what that means is if you block inflammation completely, you also block repair. Now, I don't want you to take this too far because there's different ways of blocking inflammation. For example, I'll throw a random one out there. Curcumin from turmeric can block inflammation in certain ways. It can also amplify inflammation in certain ways. But the ways that it blocks inflammation doesn't necessarily inhibit repair, and it's not a complete blockage of inflammation. So I just want to throw that out there so you don't think every time you block inflammation in any way that's a bad thing. But when it comes to cortisone or cortisol, it's a pretty just broad spectrum block of inflammation. So that means a pretty broad spectrum block in repair. And when you are chronically stressed, day in and day out, you are going to be secreting large amounts of cortisol over and over and over, this stress hormone. And that stress hormone affects every part of your body. One part would be the stomach lining. And so, since the stomach lining is one of the quickest tissues that needs to undergo repair over and over, if you inhibit those repair processes from the cortisone or the cortisol, then this little bit of damage won't get repaired. It'll turn into more damage until it's a full-blown ulcer. Now, why don't zebras get ulcers? Well, the interesting thing is that zebras, even though they have to run for their lives day in and day out, pretty regularly, as soon as that attack is over and as soon as they're back into safety, sometimes they even shake. But however they do it, they actually let the stress and emotions go. They have a natural way to release their stress, release their emotions. And what you find is that the stress hormones have an abrupt drop. And so the sympathetic, the fight or flight system, the panic mode system drops as well. And then the parasympathetic activates more so. So the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, will start to kick in. And so they go from running for their lives away from being eaten right after that, or soon after that, back into rest and digest mode. This is also repair mode. And this is the mode that we should be living most of our lives in. However, as humans, we have this wonderful imagination that allows us to regret and be sad and be guilty and other bad emotions about the past. And it allows us to worry and be afraid of the future. And the past isn't here right now, and the future isn't here right now. Both of those are really, truthfully, just in your head. They just don't exist right now. What exists right now is now. And that's what's really true right now. While you might think, well, the past is true in this way and that way. Well, a person that was with you at a particular, that saw the same event that you did, might have a different memory about it. And your memory might actually have changed over time about it. So really what the past is for you is just your collection of memories, many of which are actually faulty, and the past doesn't truly exist. It's not concrete. Same thing with the future. You might think you know what the future is going to bring, and you're worried about it, but the truth is we don't really know. You don't know for sure. Future isn't here yet regardless. And the cool thing about the zebra is it doesn't have that human imagination, so it's living fully in the present moment. And after it escaped danger, its present moment is now safety and is peace and is completely okay. And that's why it kicks into rest and digest mode. Now, when it comes to human conditions and diseases, I was mentioning earlier, we have that abundance of evidence showing for all various types of chronic health conditions how chronic stress plays into that and amplifies it. In fact, for many autoimmune conditions, chronic stress is the number one indicator of predicting a flare-up for that condition. That means not diet, not exercise, not other aspects of lifestyle or sleep or whatever. It is chronic stress that is the number one predictor of a flare-up for autoimmune conditions in many ways. And that's very important to know. And if you have an autoimmune condition or you know someone that does, they'll tell you this is true. I mean, it's so common. So this is where most people struggle because they get told all of this information, recognizing the toll that chronic stress is taking on your health and on your life, and recognizing how it's setting you up for worse health later on, how it's contributing to hardening of the arteries, contributing to increases in cancer risk and so on, and all of these different conditions. And yet then the person is left with, okay, I get that. I understand what you're saying, but what do I do about it? My life is stressful. I have a stressful job. I have a stressful family situation. I have a stressful situation with my partner. I have this very stressful thing that's happening in my life. And what I'll say to you is that may be true. At this point in your life, maybe you are under more stress than usual. And maybe this is a really challenging time. And maybe that's, not something you're used to being able to handle or capable of handling even at this moment. And I get that, and that's okay. What I want you to do, though, is take an honest look at your life and see if you have a habit of staying stressed. That even though your life kind of goes up and down, that you kind of stay more towards the stress side regardless. Or that you notice that you're always worrying about the future, even though you've handled the past future relatively okay. You're still here now, So just take that honest look at yourself. And yes, if you are going through something monumentous right now, then, get help. Get professional help from that even. But what I want to offer to you today is something that you probably haven't learned about before or haven't been told about before, even by mental health professionals. And that is, you actually have an ability that you're born with to be able to release emotions. You're able to let them go. Now, no, you can't just take all of your emotions right now and just let them all go. Because you haven't learned, you haven't practiced it, you haven't done it. But if you start small and go step by step, you will learn how to, at first, release small emotions and emotions that maybe aren't so strong. But it's like a muscle that you can build and practice. And it actually doesn't take very long. It takes weeks. And during that time, you can practice and learn how to let larger and larger emotions go. there is an actual mechanism on how to do this. And I shared that with you in one of my other videos, which I'll link above here if you haven't seen that and you want to watch that, where I go over the mechanism of how to actually let emotions go. Now, there is more than one way to let emotions go, but as a beginner, the mechanism that I have in that video is one of the simplest ways on how to do that. I also have a free gift that I give you guys. I'll link it in either the description below or in the comment section below, where I will give you a completely free PDF that comes with a bonus audio that takes you step by step and teaches you how you can start beginning to release these emotions. Now, letting go or emotional releasing is something that isn't just beneficial for your health, your physical health, but it's enormously beneficial for your psychological or mental health. And unfortunately, it's not something that most mainstream mental health, either mental health coaches or psychologists or therapists, actually teach or even know about or even know is possible. And a lot of the times it's the missing piece of the puzzle, because a lot of the times our problems aren't a thinking problem, it's a feeling problem. And we don't know what to do with those feelings. If we could let those feelings go, our thinking will automatically change. The chronic stress that we have that's built up in our life is made up of other emotions. It's made up of worry and guilt and sadness and overwhelm. And you can let each of those go piece by piece. And once you do, you'll develop more and more this sense of peace and calm and relief, in a sense, even if you still have to take those actions. And even if you still have to do those same things, you won't have that same inner tension. And that makes all the difference. It makes you more effective. It makes you have better communication. It makes you take better actions. And it just makes it easier to actually handle life's problems. Chronic stress makes it much, much more difficult to handle life's problems. A lot of times when you have this chronic stress, you end up having to go home and just escape from it anyway. You turn on TV or drugs and alcohol or food, whatever your choice of escape is. I talked more about that on my video on the 4 different ways that we can handle emotions. Escape is one of them. If you haven't seen that, you can check that out in the link above as well. But if you are able to release those emotions, if you're able to let go of the chronic stress, then you'll make better decisions. You won't need as many escape mechanisms. You'll be able to better regulate your life, and you'll just feel better overall. And your body will also thank you for it. Your future self will thank you for it. So, I hope this was helpful. I don't want to make this too long of a video, so I'll kind of just end it here. But I hope you're starting to recognize that it isn't just food, it isn't just, diet and exercise and sleep that's important for your health. While all 3 of those are very important for optimal health and great health, they're just not the whole story. And mental health and emotions and chronic stress is a huge, huge player in that. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope it served you, and I'll see you again soon.